Hey guys, Kevin here with etrailer, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install the MAXXAIR MaxxFan Deluxe here on our 2022 Grand Design Imagine travel trailer. So our neighbor today wanted to upgrade his vents. He did have 12-volt powered vents in his trailer, but he wanted to switch to something a little bit more sophisticated that looked a little bit nicer. With our MAXXAIR Fan Deluxe, it has a super slick looking rain shield that allows you to run your vent at any time, whether it's inclement weather, maybe it's raining, or if you're driving down the highway, you can still have your vent open and exhausting that stale air out of your camper, whereas other vents can't do that. And also just the compatibility with the remote and the ability to change the fan speed and the temperature settings just overall make this a whole lot more enjoyable while you're camping. Up in our roof vent lid, there is a bug shield on the back where you actually have the air vent out of our ceiling vent here, but there's also the added protection of the bug shield right here, which can easily be replaced or pulled down for cleaning just by simply twisting these brackets around to pull the bug shield down. As you can see right next to that, we have our controls, your on-off, your reversible, switching your fan from manual to auto, and then opening and closing your lid, as well as a manual turn knob in the event that you lose power, or if you're wanting to have the vent open without the fan running whenever you're pulling your trailer down the highway. On a remote, you can see what our room temperature is sitting at and what the setting for the vent is actually set at when we put it in auto mode. We can go ahead and turn our vent on, and down here you can see the speed at which the fan is at. If we want to raise that up, we can go in increments of 10%. When we're in auto mode, we can adjust our temperature setting as well by hitting the plus or minus. We also have our open and close for our vent lid and our reversible button. The reversible button on this vent is going to allow you to either exhaust stale air out or pull fresh air in. And while you have the vent closed, if you have the fan running, it is also going to act as a ceiling fan. Another nice thing about the remote is that it actually comes with a holder that you can easily screw to your wall, and that way whenever you're not needing your remote, you can slide it in place and never lose it. So as you can see with our vents, clearly a different design here. With our old vent, it's not really going to be able to stand up to driving down the highway with it open, so you're not going to be able to exhaust stale air out of your camper or just kind of vent it out as you're going to keep it nice and cool. Whereas with our rain shield, you can do that in inclement weather and while you're going down the highway. As far as installation difficulty goes, putting in your vent is super easy. All you have to do is remove your old one, slap down the new one, screw it into place, and just hook up your wiring and put your cover on the inside. The most difficult part is definitely removing the old sealant that is on your vent. So I highly recommend taking your time with that. You don't want to end up damaging your roof membrane, which can lead to leaks that'll end up costing you thousands of dollars in repairs. To begin our installation, we're going to go ahead and start by removing our old vent. I'm going to do that by first taking off our shroud. With our shroud down, now we can go ahead and disconnect our wires for our vent. Luckily, we have just these quick connectors here. Your trailer may be a little bit different. You might find that it's butt connected in, or maybe wing nut, something like that. So this could change depending on your setup, but now we get that free, let's go up top and we can start pulling back our sealant and remove our vent. So now up on top of the roof, we're going to go ahead and start peeling back our self-leveling sealant here. This is going to take quite a bit of time. I'm just using a trim panel tool just to be safe. I don't want to end up scraping up my roofing here. But you'll want to go around and clear this all off. That way you can access your screws and take off our vent. So we've got a good portion of our self-leveling sealant off. We're going to go ahead and take out our screws as well. So now I'm just kind of slowly going around with a tool here, just trying to kind of break off the butyl tape that's under here, holding it down to the roof. If you need to, just still come back along with the sealant that's still stuck to it and just kind of trim it up. Get your side free, and then you can move on to the next. Now we can slowly pull this up out. You may need to take your razor blade and just trim that butyl tape. So before we go ahead and mount up our vent, we're going to go ahead and take some butyl tape, which you can also get here at etrailer, and we are going to run it along our flange here, covering up all of our screw holes. All right, go ahead and do that for each 4 sides. As we're going along though, I'm going to overlap the corners just so that we have a nice good seal, prevent any water leakage from getting in. So I pulled off that little bracket that we had, put our butyl tape on, and inside of the side of our vent here is where our wiring is going to be. So I've already kind of pulled that out. And I've also pulled off the backing for our butyl tape. I'm going to go ahead and pull my wiring through now. And if you look at the side of this, there's going to be these brackets, and that's actually what we're going to be screwing our vent through. So we want to make sure that we have those on the sides, because that's where our holes are. If we put it the other way, we're not going to be able to attach our vent to our bracket here. So we'll slide that in place. And you have to kind of just jiggle it around to get it in there. There we go. And we can hook up our power and our ground. So luckily, since this isn't a new build, there's already wiring here for me. We have our power right here and our ground, and it's also got these very nice connectors here that all I have to do is just flip up for the circuit to open and place in my power and ground. Now my power on my vent is going to be my black wire. You may need to just kind of twist that up just a little bit. If you don't have this kind of connector, you may have to just get some butt connectors and put your wires together. I don't really recommend using those wire nuts that just twist on, because those have an opportunity of loosening up over time, especially when you're in a moving trailer. That'll jostle it around. We'll go ahead and put in our ground. Now that we have that in place, we can go ahead and set our roof vent into our hole. Now when we're doing this, we want to make sure that we have our vented side facing towards the back, because all the airflow is going to push up against the front of this and come out the back, and that's what's actually going to prevent any water or anything from outside coming through, and which also allows you to drive with your vent open, unlike other vents. So we'll drop that down. There we go. We can kind of press that in place and trim off a little bit of excess butyl tape we had there. And your butyl tape will do a real good job at kind of sticking this down before we get our screws on. So now I have this how I want. I'm going to actually lift this back up out of here and just lay it down. As you can see, there's going to be these screw holes going around. We can also kind of push down a little bit more now that the fan's out of the way. Then we're going to take our kit. It's going to come with the screws that we need for our hardware, as well as some connectors. We didn't need those, but they're going to provide those for you just in case you do. Now it's going to come with a few different types of screws here. It's going to have these round head ones. That's what we're actually going to be using to mount our flange, as well as our vent down into the flange. But it's also going to come with these flat ones. So these flathead screws are painted. That's what's going to cover or go into your cover that's going to be on the inside of your trailer. That way you don't see all the exposed wood or wires or anything like that. So we want to make sure that we don't use these. We want to save that for our cover. So now we can just go ahead and start screwing in our mounting bracket. So like I said, there is also a separate type of screw in there that's going to be a round head. It's going to be just a bit thicker than the other one, and it's going to be shorter. This is going to be the 4 screws that are going to go in the side of your vent into the mounting flange itself. You want to make sure that you don't end up using those when you're mounting down the mounting flange. With our mounting flange secured to our roof, we're going to go ahead and drop our vent back down in here. A little crooked. There we go. So right now I have someone downstairs inside the trailer opening up the hand crank on our vent here. That's going to allow me to access the 4 holes, the 2 on each side that we need to, so that we can mount it to our flange. So what we're going to do is take our screw gun and those 4 screws. So as you can see, our holes aren't fully lining up. You will have to kind of press down on it and just get your screw started in there just a bit. It's going to go in a little crooked at first, but as you start pulling it in, it'll straighten itself out. But kind of pushing down on it will help. And then we can go ahead and take our screw gun. And with that in place, we can go ahead and do the other 3. So the last thing we're going to do up top is just take some self-leveling sealant, and we're going to place this up over our screws and then also down onto our roof membrane, just so that we get a nice tight seal. We don't want any water leaking in through our vent and getting in and damaging our roof or our walls. Now I have this kind of up just a little bit to make it easier for me to get the sides and the back. The front, however, is just going to be a pain regardless of how you have the vent, whether closed or open. So you're just going to have to really get in there with your self-leveling sealant and try and get it as much as you can over the screws. When you're doing this, since we're going to be using such a big amount of it, you can just go ahead and cut your caulk tube a little bit wider than normal. That way you can really layer it on and you don't have to sit there and do small parts at a time. We're just going to keep going and making our way down, layer by layer, making sure that each layer is touching the previous one and kind of overlapping a bit. This is the one time where too much caulk is not a thing. You'll definitely want to load this up. The more you put on, the less chance you have of any leaks happening. So now that I got the front, I'm going to go ahead and do my sides and my back. Now that we have our sealant down, we can go ahead and peel off our protective cover here. And we can go inside and put up our internal cover and finish up our install. So now we're back inside our trailer. We're going to go ahead and hide our wiring. Luckily with our trailer today, we have plenty of space up in the ceiling here. So we can just tuck that up right here. We do need to leave a little bit of slack just because once we stick our shroud in here, it's going to push these wires up higher into there. But we can go ahead and start measuring to cut down our cover here. We'll want to stick this up. And actually, we don't even need to cut anything down just because we're not sticking down at all with our ceiling. In the event that you do need to cut down, what you would want to do is go through each side and measure the distance from the lip here of our cover to your ceiling. And you're going to want to do that on each side just in case, because you may have a slanted ceiling or more of a rounded ceiling. I've seen some where people have cut it the same width down on each side and then realized after the fact, oh, I have a slanted ceiling, now my cover doesn't look right. So we can actually just go ahead and screw this right in place. All right, now we can go ahead and test out our vent here. I've got the power on at our switch. Go ahead and turn it on now. And as you can see, our fan is running and our vent is opening up. So with our MAXXAIR fan now running, all the sealant in place and our cover back up on our inside portion of our trailer, that will complete our installation of the MAXXAIR Fan Deluxe here on our 2022 Grand Design Imagine Travel Trailer.